Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Tuesday, July the 11th, 2023. My name is Stephen Carnegie, and welcome to This Is Just a Thought. Today's word of the day, confabulate, which means to fill in gaps in the memory by fabrication. Confabulate. Man, I hope everyone is enjoying their Tuesday. I almost said Wednesday. Man, the week is speeding up on me again. Hope everyone's enjoying their Tuesday or will enjoy their Tuesday. The word of the day is confabulate. Man, I think a lot of you, when it comes to politics, you have allowed some confabulation to go on in your mind. A lot of stuff. A lot of people are drinking the Kool-Aid, and that's both sides. Just is. All right, man. Wow, the weather. The heat is on. That's an old Huey Lewis in the News song, by the way. Man, that heat is here. It's here. It's man. I went out yesterday. I was off. Actually, yesterday was pretty moderate and mild here in North Carolina. Had a front come through in certain parts, brought some rain, and with that front coming through, it brought in some cooler temperatures. I mean, it was in the 80s, mid 80s, so it felt pretty good, but then it didn't because it was still humid. That heat index, just like today, its temperatures are expected to be in the 80s, going up high as to the 90s, but the real feel is going to feel like 100 plus degrees. Heat index, the humidity. Man, the humidity here in the South, hey, if you've been living here your whole life like I have, you kind of get used to it. You manage it. You know when to go out and when not to go out, and when to hydrate. You hydrate at all times. Water. They're saying that's just the best way to hydrate yourself, and it is. The sports drinks, they do provide some much needed relief, but the bottom line, if you're going to be out in this heat a long time, if you work out in the heat, bring some water along with you. Just hydrate, man. And you got to. I got some yard work I need to do. I don't know. If I can't get it done early in the morning and wake up the whole damn neighborhood, all those that aren't going to work, it may get done later in the evening. I can't do it like I used to. Go out in the middle of the day, stay out there a few hours, cutting grass, trimming hedges. I can't do that no more. This is a different type of heat. Man, it just is. And folks in the Northeast, New York State, and all those surrounding areas, we got the heat here, but they've gotten hammered with flooding. They've had some heavy rain, and the floods. Flooding usually doesn't happen in this part of the country like that. I mean, there are exceptions, but man, if you've seen the video and the news reports, you gotta say wow, because they've gotten hammered. Just have. So pray for those folks up there also. I mean, hey, the summer's here, baby. Ain't no running now. Bet you ain't complaining about that cold air now. You want it back, don't you? I know I do. Hey, like I always say, I love the summer. And the heat, I love it to an extent. When it gets too much, I'm back inside. I just am. I ain't built like that no more. I ain't young. I ain't no spring chicken. I'm not. All right, let's go get it. We're going to get it early today. Man, I wanted to talk to you guys. I haven't really talked about this in a while, maybe since the beginning of last year, maybe sometime this year, when the war with Russia and Ukraine started. That's probably one of the last times I talked about it, maybe about a year ago. Maybe I've sprinkled some stories in here and there, with the latest being this. That story certainly, it gets better with time. We all know the proposed mutiny that took place sometime last month in June. I believe it was on June 24th with between Putin and that Wagner militant. I won't call them militant. They were mercenary group that hey, one time Putin. Man, I almost called that guy. No, I didn't. I know I didn't say that. Well, some people may say, hey, They're one and the same. That one time military general that Putin had used his forces. They were a mercenary group. He had used their forces, and somehow, some way, this general, along with some more who remained kind of sort of quiet, but he was the most boisterous. He led that mutiny on the 24th. Hasn't been seen since. Now we know that in his march to the mutiny, on his way to Russia with his mercenary group, he had plans to take over a nuclear facility. Force Russia's hands. Force Putin's hand. Just did. But a report has came out. Like I said, he hasn't been seen since. But a report has came out and said him and some more high-ranking military officials sat down with Putin on June 25th through the 29th in a meeting to express their dismay on how the war was going. Putin heard them. They exchanged ideas. Yada, yada, yada. Rah, rah, rah. Shish, boom, bah. Guy still hasn't been seen. I wonder where he's at. They said the meeting took place in Russia. Hey, at this point, it's all speculation. But, buddy, you bucked up against Putin. Ain't no telling where that guy is at or his remains. For all you that don't know about Putin, Putin ain't one you want to buck up against. He's just not. But there, like with that story, and now it looks like the U.S., in addition to already pledging or giving Ukraine $113 billion in military aid, whether it be money, weapons, ammunition, or training, $113 billion. The U.S. has now came out, and they've met some scrutiny. Came out and said, hey, we're going to send Ukraine what they call cluster munitions. It's a bomb. These bombs, it's a bomb that, just like I called it, cluster. It sets off clusters, and it just spreads. Now, the U.S. in the past, they banned it, along with other countries. They banned it. 100 or so countries have banned use and said it was not the way to go as far as fighting a war or a conflict. Because what happens with these cluster munitions, that when they hit, they explode. Some don't. It's a bomb that's filled with a lot of little bombs or whatever, what have you. When the ammunition hits, some explode, some don't. So the reason for the ban, and the U.S. at one point in time told Russia, hey, don't do that. Don't use that. That's not a good weapon. Because what happens, like I said, when these little clusters hit, some go off, some don't. So they stay down on the ground for a while. And folks, sometime later, just like with any old wartime ammunition, some explode, some don't. So we've all heard the horrible stories, especially in Vietnam and Korea and Cambodia, and even in Iraq, that a lot of civilians come upon these and they explode, whether it be in the middle of a war or after. So that's the reason for the ban. And that's the reason for the U.S. stepping up and saying, hey, no, don't do that, don't use that, you can't use that. But now they're sending it to Ukraine to help with the fight in Russia. As for me, that's a no. I guess it's bad unless the U.S. says it's good. That appears to be what it is, because the U.S. Biden administration, they said, hey, we're sending them. Now, many, and of course, as you know, internally inside the United States, a lot of folks, some Democrat, many Republican, are saying what a hypocrisy. At one point in time, we stood firm as a nation and said, no, we will not use these bombs, and we will not send them to anyone else to use these bombs. And in fact, we condemn anyone that uses these bombs. I guess it's convenient till you need it. Sort of like folks with the police. You don't need the police. You hate the police until you need them. It appears the Ukraine needs this bomb. And the U.S. said, hey, okay, we'll send them. Kind of makes you wonder and question also if these bombs are so bad and there's such a horrific weaponry, why do the U.S. even have them? Why are they making them? And now why are they sending them to Ukraine? I guess the U.S. says, hey, it's just another form of weaponry that we've already sent. You know, the countless drones, the bombs, and tanks, and artillery shells, and anti-aircraft weaponry that we sent. Why not send these? Why stop? Appears that way that they want to send them. They're going to allow them to be used. Also happening this week or over the weekend, President Biden had a meeting with NATO and Sweden. Now they're proposing that Sweden be allowed into the with NATO into the UN. Now Sweden, which it has long been a debate with Sweden. You know, the debate is should they be allowed in NATO or shouldn't they be allowed? The reason why, because if you know anything about Sweden, they have remained neutral just about every war there's ever been. Maybe they are a good country. Maybe they just chose at one point in time, to be neutral. But the thing for me is, how is it that you can allow Sweden into the UN? Sweden's, like I said, they've remained neutral in every war. And that's mainly been, let's just cut to the chase. That's mainly been because they are a country, they got a lot of money. The banking system. They hold the banking system, their banking system. I know we've all heard of these Swiss bank accounts. They hold a lot of bank accounts for a lot of nations, a lot of countries. Hell, Russia might even have some funds in there. It's like a dream to these nations for whatever reason. Those Swiss bank accounts. So I said to myself, well, how can they allow Sweden in if they're holding all these other countries' monies, and they might be holding some monies for some countries that aren't that popular? There's a lot of funds that go through Sweden, and they distribute it. You know, these banks, they hold their accounts and let them roll how they roll. So how can you allow a country that, they have remained neutral? How can you allow a country that holds a lot of nations' bank, a lot of nations' economy, might just start off or end with these Swiss bank accounts? So are you going to put these holds on a lot of maybe that's the reason why they want in the UN? Oversight. I don't think so. But folks are saying, you know, the NATO is saying, or the UN is saying, we got to allow them in finally. And there's almost a 100% agreement. But there are some countries that are saying, hold up, wait a minute. No. That's probably those countries that have some funds there that know if Sweden goes into the UN, there's going to be a lot of oversight. And that is, in my opinion, that's the reason why they want them in there. Now, also, Ukraine has came up in the debate, in the conversation about allowing them into the UN. You know, when the war started, it was too little too late. The president and the rest of his cabinet in the Ukraine, they went to the UN and said, hey, allow us in. The UN said no. And they're echoing no again, along with the U.S. and other countries. They say, hey, we can't let you guys in because you're in the middle of a war. And if you're a member of the UN or NATO, however you say it, or however you want to word it, they have to come to your defense if there ever is a war or an invasion. Because if you remember at the start, like I said, at the start of the war, in addition to the UN saying no to the Ukraine for allowing them in, the UN came in along with the US and its allies. The British came in and said, hey, there are certain countries around both the Ukraine and Russia that border Ukraine that Ukraine can't enter, and Russia better not enter. So they laid the ground rules and told Russia, don't come into these countries that are part of the UN. Poland, that was one of them. So now we're at a point in this world conflict where you got a country that has remained neutral through every single war that has been in this world, that holds a lot of countries' economy, let's just be honest, in the palm of their hands. Then you got another country that is in a conflict, an all-out war with Russia that wants in. And the U.S. and the UN said, no, we can't allow you in, not right now. Maybe later, after you guys calm down or end this war, we'll certainly go back to the board and maybe allow you in. But even at that time, if they're just getting out of war, they're going to be dismantled. Let's just be honest with each other here. It appears at time that Ukraine is gaining ground. And it also appears at time that Russia is taking over and gaining ground. So what do you think is going on in Ukraine as far as this infrastructure and just the population? They're torn to bits. They just are. So we'll see. I think what's going to happen is that, like it's been said or alluded to, at some point in time, Ukraine is going to be allowed into the UN. And hey, NATO, all of us that are a part of NATO, we're going to have to help them rebuild. So there goes some more money. You already spent $113 billion. And those allies that are supposed to be with you, yeah, they're chipping in a little bit. But like always, with the United States, they foot the bill. So $113 billion is 113 billion plus, if we're going to be honest. This war doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. So Ukraine, of course, they're going to come back and ask at some point in time. I would love to tell you the distant future, but it's going to be the near future. They're going to come back for some more money. So the U.S. is going to send all this money over there, and then at the end of this war, when it ends and there's peace and there's a resolution, they're going to have to send more money to Ukraine. This isn't new. This is what the U.S. does. Gets involved in these other countries' conflict, and they dump a ton of money in there for what they say is the greater good for democracy, and we got to help our other countries that aren't able to defend against tyranny. Rah, 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 shish, boom, bah, and the U.S. ends up footing the bill every time. Just like now. This is just what the U.S. does. I'm not a fan of it. I certainly, just like many of you out there, I'm sure you've said to yourself and you said out loud, we got a lot of things we need to worry about and fix here, and we do. It amazes me, but it doesn't amaze me because, hey, I know this is just how things are. U.S. says, hey, we ain't got funds to do this, that, and whatever here internally, but we do have funds to help with our allies, or what could be allies at some point in time. Miraculously, they come up with the funds and the ammunition and the weaponry and the training. I guess that's just the business. That's just politics. That's just how things roll. You have to be able to help people to, I guess, stop the spread of tyranny and communism. Okay, well, you got money for that. I guess this is a decision of what you have funds for and what you don't have funds for. Because apparently, like I said, it's 113 billion, and that's probably a modest number. I'm sure there's been more. And now with these cluster munition bombs being sent, that at one point in time the U.S. said no way, no how. Now they're going to be used. Even this type of weaponry has even been banned and demeaned and demoralized by the UN. How does that work? You're a part of the UN, and you can still use bombs that they have deemed just horrific for not just the military but the civilian population on a whole. You can now say, yeah, we're going to send them nowhere, stay out of it. We're going to send it to them because they need our help. So all of a sudden, even though the UN has came out and said they're not in support of this type of weaponry and ammunition, they remain tight-lipped because the U.S. has said we're going to send it to Ukraine. Well, I guess if you're footing the bill, you can send what you want, use what you want. Makes you wonder. So, wow, certainly there's a lot going on with this war, more than you and I could possibly fathom. I mean, hey, you got the U.S. sending a banned bomb. You got Putin and his woes and troubles internally with his military forces. Maybe that's why the U.S. is in it, because they're saying to themselves, hey, Putin's on the rope. Let's help finish him off. Then you got to talk about, of course, Sweden joining the UN, and quite possibly somehow, some way in the near future, Ukraine. This war rolls on. Just does. Man, we'll see what happens. But man, 13. I didn't know it was 13 billion. I just didn't. Makes you wonder. I mean, you guys, meaning the politicians, the congressmen and senators and state representatives, and even the president and his administration, you guys come out and say we don't have funds for this or that or whatever internally, but we got funds to send externally to help another country fight a war. Business as usual, regardless of who's in office. Regardless of what political party holds the power in the House and the Senate. I guess it's the great good. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and skedaddle. I got, of course, like always, I got to go to work. Well, that's all for me today, and I want to thank you all for lending me your ears this morning. Continue to like, share, support, offer feedback. Anchor, which I am sharing this podcast to, also has a great feature where you can leave a voice response, and I would love to hear your voice. You can also make monetary contributions. Continue to follow and listen on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Verbal, and WordPress, and on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. Keep you in the loop. And as always, my name is Stephen Carnegie. Thank you for listening. This is Just a Thought. Amen.